Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about creating a new emotional baseline. This is something that we're really not taught unless you're taught how to control your emotions from a young age, or unless you've learned how to do it like within your adulthood or throughout your life. But as I'm going through my journey, one thing that I will say that I'm kind of struggling with is just creating new emotional baselines that aren't based in scarcity, fear, doubt, and worry. And there was this guy that I follow. His name is Austin BVI. He's from like the Virgin Islands. And he made a story post about how, this was the first time, 2026 was like the first time in his life that he's felt that he has something to live for. And he went on to explain that when he was younger, he would have a lot of experiences where, he would be around people and friends and family and feel love, but that he would always come back to a depressed emotional baseline. And it's the first time that I've heard of that term, honestly, or that I've put it in that language. But after hearing his story, I kind of thought about like my own life and the own things that I've, the things that I've struggled with and the things that I've been through. And I'm coming to recognize that I too have had like a depressed and very anxious and scared and scarcity filled emotional baseline. And so I just kind of want to talk that through, what that looks like, what it's looked like now, especially since I've been just more aware of my emotions and some things that I'm doing and learning in order to fix that. So as I said before, I've had the emotional baseline full of fear and doubt and worry and anxiety. And it's definitely heightened when you pay attention throughout your day to how you feel, what things you're thinking about. If you catch yourself having a thought that maybe you're trying to change or something, especially when you're first going through your journey, you're going to realize that a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings that you have are probably predicated on what you've thought and what you felt before, right? So let's say that you're here and you want to change to come up here. Well, when you make that change, what you're going to notice is that you are in these feelings, even if you don't want to be, right? Like today is a perfect, no, I'll use yesterday. Yesterday is a perfect example. I had a great day yesterday. I sat by the pool, I went to the gym, I did some client work, and there was no reason for me to be negative or feel sad or feel upset about anything that was happening currently around me. But what I noticed is that sometimes if I wasn't careful, my thoughts would slip into, man, why did I do that to that person? Should I call them and apologize? Why did I say that? Oh, I wish I could go back and do this. Or why did I do that in the past? Or man, I'm so anxious. Like I have this coming up and this bill due, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, and da 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 da, and all these different things. And this happened multiple times throughout the day. Like I'm literally watching myself almost have these thoughts. And I just got to thinking, like, why is this, after even reading his story too, I'm like, why is this my baseline? And the reason why is because when you're so used to feeling a certain way, if you feel dejected, if you feel left out, unwanted, unloved, all of these different things, if you don't address it and work to, I guess, change those behaviors and change those feelings, it's going to create an emotional baseline. So there's actually a book, let me bring it out, that I'm reading called Psychocybernetics. A friend recommended this to me, and it basically just talks about the physiological mechanisms that we have as humans that guide our behavior and guide the things that we want to do. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because your emotional baseline also has to do a lot with your self-image, which is what I'm learning about as well. And for those of you who don't know, your self-image is just basically how you view yourself, how you regard yourself. If you're someone who has a self-image as somebody who is successful, who is good looking, who's in shape, then your habits are going to line up with that. But if you're someone who thinks that you're always making mistakes, you're always messing up, nothing goes right, nothing goes your way, then your habits and your reality is going to match up with what you think. So it doesn't matter if you change your clothes, it doesn't matter if somebody gives you $1 million tomorrow. If you think that you are not able to maintain and hold on to a certain frequency of somebody who is successful or who can maintain those things, then it's not going to matter. Eventually, you're always going to go back to that baseline. And the reason why I bring that up again is because it relates to your emotional baseline as well, not only with physical traits or with, financial goals that you have, but even your emotional baseline. If you feel like you are depressed and like you're always just going through the motions and that you're continually sad, that is because there is something within you that is identifying with that self-image of someone who acts like that. And it doesn't matter how long you've done it in the past. If you've been like that for 30, 40, 50 years, you always have a choice to change it. And there's things that you can do to change it. And that's what I'm reading in this book. And they kind of, Bob Proctor talks about this too, but he kind of compares it to a thermostat. Where did my nails go? What the heck? Sorry, but he kind of compares it to a thermostat. And he was saying, you know, when you have a thermostat, if you set the thermostat to, let's say, 68 degrees and it's summertime and it's 68 degrees inside of your home, if you open up the door and it starts to get hotter, the thermostat is automatically going to kick into action so that the air can turn on so that it can go back to that baseline of 68 degrees. So think about that now with your emotions, right? If you're somebody, like I said, who's used to being depressed or used to feeling negative in a certain way, any single time that you deviate from that baseline that you have conditioned yourself to be in, you're going to bring yourself back. It doesn't matter if you go out with friends or if something good happens to you, you're always going to mentally bring yourself back to that baseline. So the work that you need to do is correcting your self-image so that you're able to change what the baseline is and then get rid of those negative self-image that you have or those negative beliefs that you have. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I think that this is really valuable for people because oftentimes when you make a change, like there are going to be days where you're motivated, where you're just like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I believe in myself. I have the tools. I have the creativity. I have the imagination. Like, I know that I'm going to succeed. I'm good. But then you also will have times where maybe a little bit of self-doubt will creep in, or maybe something will happen that's unexpected that you didn't plan for, that you didn't take into account. And now all of a sudden you're kind of going back to those old ways, back to those old habits, back to those old thought patterns. So I highly recommend this book for anybody. I'm making my way through it. I'm on the 3rd chapter. I'm actually, after I finish making this video, I'm going to read some more because I want to take it seriously. And what you'll find out too, as you go throughout your day and as you recognize these, I don't even want to say negative behaviors, but just behaviors that you want to change, you're going to recognize just how often you have them. You're going to be like, wow, like I actually think a lot of negative thoughts, like without even recognizing or without even realizing it. I didn't even know. And so you're going to want to move toward changing that. But again, if you don't like tackle the self-image, or if you don't look at your own self-image and look at the script that you've been telling yourself, or that your family or society or other people have been telling yourself for years and years and years, you're always going to go back down to that baseline, whether it's positive or negative. So remember that. So this is a good book to help. And then another resource that I have is Brian Withers. So Brian Withers is where I first heard about 3D being the cause and not the effect. And I have a video on this as well titled 3D is the cause and not the effect. And that's something that I'm having to remember too, because sometimes it feels like things are crashing around me. I'm like looking at my bank account. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. I'm worried about this, worried about that. And I'm looking at the physical 3D reality, mind you, a reality that I have thought my way into. It's not like anybody thrust these things upon me or like they came out of nowhere. You know, I can mentally backtrack to how I got to the position that I'm in through negative thinking. And it's my fault and I'm the one to blame. But regardless, I'm looking at that stuff around me. My automatic reaction is to go into panic mode. My automatic reaction is to think scarcity, is to reach out in a frantic state, or to try to do something physically to alleviate that discomfort and alleviate that pain. But what I'm coming to understand is that something has to happen mentally or non-physically in order for things to manifest physically. So if you feel like, okay, my car just broke down, I lost my job, I did this, I did that, all these things are happening to me, that's because there's something that you are telling yourself or something that you are resonating with frequency-wise mentally in order for this stuff to manifest. And it sounds woo-woo crazy. And I would probably have said that it does sound crazy maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but when you start to understand that this is how it works, like it genuinely is that. And I'll give a little anecdote after I give you the resource, but Brian Withers is somebody that I watch who he literally just reiterates the message over and over and over, feel good now. Like if you only focus on good things and good energy, now that doesn't mean that you're ignoring real issues or real things that are happening to you or those around you or what's going on in your life. But his basic premise is saying, like, do not let reality trick you. Do not let the illusion of the 3D trick you into putting yourself in a bad mood or developing feelings of scarcity or fear or worry or doubt, because that is what's going to perpetuate those things to keep manifesting in your life. So he basically says, you know, always try to feel good about your situation, feel grateful for what you have, feel grateful for the things that you're experiencing, feel grateful for the contrast, because the contrast in your life is showing you what you actually want to receive. And the only thing that you need in order to receive that is to feel good. There's nothing that you have to do physically. There's nothing that you have to declare, and there's no big thing that you have to go through or big ritual that you have to go through in order to achieve your dreams or receive the things that you want to receive in this life. The only thing that you have to do is feel good. And so that's been in the back of my mind this entire time. And so I'll give a little story. So I made a video probably about almost 2 weeks ago now about being fired. I got fired from my job unexpectedly, due to just having a bad attitude and just not performing well. And again, my fault. I thought my way into it. I don't blame anybody but myself. So when I got fired, I was depending on the check in order to, my next check in order to pay my rent and pay my bills and, just do all these different things. You account for that money. So when I got fired, automatically my brain goes into, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to get groceries? How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to keep all these things together? Like, I haven't been working on my business like I should. Like, immediately I'm going to all these different places. And so after about 3 days of that, I finally got to the point where I tired myself out, and I just heard a voice. It was my own voice in my head. And I was just like, stop. Like, you literally are thinking your way into destructive habits, into a destructive reality that you don't want to experience. Just stop. Just stop, relax. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work out. And I felt like peace came over me. I was like, you know what? Regardless of what happens, I'm just going to relax. Like, I'm going to trust that I'm going to be okay. I've watched all these videos, read all these books. I make videos myself about what to do in these situations, or about, how to feel in these situations. Like, it's time for me to take my own advice. And so that was on the 30th of July or June, excuse me, or 31st, I think. And so I just relaxed. I was like, I'll figure it out somehow, some way. My rent is due the 3rd, right? So literally 2 days after that, on the 2nd, right before my rent is due, somebody hits me up like, hey, I actually want to purchase some services for you. Like, I'm going to be sending the money. Here it is. Da, da, da. Like, everything just worked out. And I had enough money. I made more money than I would have in the week of working, than I would have if you know what I'm saying? I made more money just by relaxing and allowing things to happen and trusting that everything was going to be okay than I would have if I went to work. And now, mind you, I had certain things set up beforehand, right? I already had my business set up. I already had Connect set up. I already had people who said that they were going to purchase something, but it was somebody who I hadn't talked to in like over a month. Like, I had a consultation with them a month ago about, getting services and seeing how I could help them through my business, and then hadn't heard from them at all, to them all of a sudden just calling me saying, hey, I went ahead and purchased that for you. Like, I'm ready to get started. So that was like the clearest example, I feel like, of my highest self just guiding me to relax. And now I'm having to think of it again because, like I said, I've always had a negative emotional baseline since I would say I was a teen, like early teens. And so this is not something that you can just switch on and switch off. Like, you can't just say, okay, I'm not going to think negative anymore, and then think that everything is going to be okay, because you're still going to have triggers. So I've noticed as my triggers have been coming about, I've been able to calm myself down, and I still go back and forth, but it's very clear now. I'm starting to recognize the pattern. I'm starting to recognize my emotional baseline. And so now I'm using the tools, like I said, this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. I'm also using Brian Withers, Bob Proctor. I'm also, what else am I doing? Journaling, writing, thinking about negative situations that have happened in my life and creating a different ending, or creating a different story, or writing about the good that has come out of it. I'm using all of these tools so that I can change my emotional baseline and change my frequency and change my life, because you don't want to keep going back and forth. You don't want to keep swaying from one end of the spectrum to the other. Like, I'm depressed, I believe in myself, I'm great, I'm the worst, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's very tiring, and you won't be able to do it for long. But the good news is that it's always possible. So I just wanted to make this video again. If you guys need resources, or if you need help with creating like a new emotional baseline, definitely check out the resources. Brian Withers, check out Bob Proctor, Louise Hay as well. She's really good for emotional healing. I've been listening to her free audiobook on YouTube, You Can Heal Your Life, and it's just very calming and promising. And no matter how bad you feel like things are, like I said, in this physical 3D reality, with your relationships, with your friendships, with your family, with yourself, no matter how bad it is, you can always change for the better. And I'm choosing to believe that. I'm telling you guys this, and I'm also telling myself this. Like, I'm choosing to believe it. There is no alternative. I don't want to go back. And these are the things that I'm doing in order to not do that. So that was a mouthful, but thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, what is your emotional baseline like? Are you working on changing it? Have you read any of these books that I mentioned or listened to any of these people's lectures? If so, let me know. If you have any other recommendations, let me know as well, of course. And I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.